Welcome to the Thriving in Motherhood podcast. I'm Jessica Jackson. Today we're going to talk about what are your priorities? I mean, for real, what are your priorities really? Now, I've sat down before and done these exercises where I write down like, these are my values and these are my priorities and this is what I care about. And I can write down God and my marriage and family and work and church and put it into a nice ordered list. But the reality is what are they when it comes to my actions and carrying them out? And I feel like this is really hard to identify, but I recently had a breakthrough that helped me get really clear about what my priorities actually are. And so I want to share this with you as just a simple exercise that you can do to have that clarity and then decide if you're living the way that you really want to be living and if your time and your energy and your mental bandwidth and space is going towards those things that you actually care about.
Hi, I'm Jessica Jackson, and this is the new way to thrive in motherhood by leaning into who you are, what you love, your unique family situation and personal mission to create a life that you actually want to live. I want to invite you to join me in saying no to the life of the exhausted supermom, burnout, victim thinking, being pulled in so many directions, suffering through survival mode, or being lost in motherhood, and say yes to building strong families and moving forward on our greatest goals in order to create a fulfilling life that we are excited to wake up to each day and become a soaring mother. This is the Thriving in Motherhood podcast.
Now, I feel like I was able to get this clarity about where I'm at in this exercises that I'm going to be doing because we've been in survival mode for so long. And when you're in survival mode, it's like all of the excess just starts falling away and what you're left with is what you're doing. And those are the priorities. And so if being in survival mode is new or scary to you and you're not sure what you want to do to get out of it, because I feel like when you're struggling, it's like all you want to do is get out of it, I highly recommend you check out the 5-step path from surviving to thriving at thrivinginmotherhoodpodcast.com/checklist. This is a proven path system that I've observed, created, and seen throughout and helped moms with throughout the whole world. And once you read it and download it, it's really transformational because you're going to start to see your circumstances totally differently than you have before and also know what to do in every single one of these phases along the path so you feel empowered and confident and excited. Even if you're in a hard season right now and you're trying to get out of it, you're going to know what you can do to navigate that well. Now, for me, when it comes with this idea of priorities, I realized those things that I'm doing in survival mode consistently still, those are my top priorities. They're the things that never fall away. And then there was other things that I'm thinking about that I was like, oh, this matters, that I just drop so fast and so hard and I'm not good at being consistent with them. And so I keep telling myself I'm not really a consistent person. I'm not really a disciplined person. I'm not good at doing these things. And I realized, okay, it's true. There are some things that do drop away that I am not very consistent on, but there's other things that I'm super consistent on. And so it was just this aha moment of, no, I am actually a consistent person, but I can't be consistent in all the things all the time. And those things that stick are when I have very little energy are the things that I would say are my biggest priorities. And then those things that drop away are obviously lower on the list. So when things are going well, it looks like I have, maybe lots of priorities, multiple, and they're all pretty even. But when things get tough, it gets clear what I actually care about. So I'm going to just invite you, and I'm going to share with you what's on my list. These 3 areas, these 3 segments of things, to write lists, 3 lists. I want you to write. That's what I'm trying to say. Write 3 lists. And you can spend, I was able to sit down and do this in a few minutes because I'm literally living this hard season right now. So it's very obvious to me, the process of things. But for you might want to sit with this for a little while and just observe yourself and see what's happening. And then we're going to ask some reflection questions after that. So the very first question what you ask is, what are you consistent on? Pretty much always. As long as you're not totally flat out with the flu in bed or, morning sickness that shuts your life down completely and you are just trying to stay alive. Besides those the most extreme situations, what are you consistent on pretty much all the time? So for me, that list is publishing content. I have never once missed a podcast episode in 6.5 years through moves and surgeries and babies and deaths, all the things. Every week there has been a podcast episode for the Thriving in Motherhood podcast since 2018, the beginning of the year. So is that 6 years? Anyway, I'm consistent on that. That is clearly a priority that I have. Two, scripture study with myself and my kids in some form. Now, if you are part of the Mom Matters 2 community, we would love to have you in there where we work on micro habits. You'll hear that I have a wide range of like my bottom floor and my ceiling of ideal, but of what that habit looks like. But in some form or another, we are doing scripture study every single day. Cooking meals. I really value cooking food from scratch, food from lots of produce, food that, helps us feel good, and is also financially beneficial for our family. So between my health goals, and just priorities and then our budget, or I don't know, we don't really have a budget. The lack of how little I want to spend on our food, I just cook meals from home. So those are priorities for me. I read and watch inspiring things all the time, whether it's a course, whether they're YouTube videos, whether I'm reading books, like that is something I'm very consistent on. And it might be one of those things where we'll get there. Okay. I am consistent on that. Pretty much always have good input coming in. I'm good at getting dressed and ready for the day. Even in survival mode, I am doing that. That's not something I did like when I was a young mom. Like sometimes I would do pajamas, but it has been years since I've had a pajama day and I don't really like them. So yeah, I get dressed and I get ready. Walking or having some outside time. Like if I don't have the capacity to go walking my normal loop that I do with the kids, we are at least outside at some point every single day, sometimes for a long time, many hours. That is always a priority. And then reading aloud with my kids at night. Like even if during the day we're all going different directions and I might not be doing that, we are at least reading bedtime stories at night together, no matter what. So those are things that I am truly consistent on, no matter what. Now, my second list, and one I would invite you to write, is what are you almost always consistent on but starts to drop when things get hard? So for me, making sourdough bread. That's something that when things are going well or even pretty well, I'm making sourdough bread. Also, I always make pizza, every single sourdough pizza, every Friday, no matter what, always consistent. But other things, making loaves of sourdough bread or making naan or pita bread or all these other things I do with sourdough bread, that starts dropping off when things get hard. Journaling. I might be reading scriptures or reading, good spiritual things, but journaling can drop for me if things start to get really hard. Tidying the house and having the kids do their zones, that falls off pretty quick. Laundry. I can be so consistent on laundry when things are going well, like no problem, clothes and drawers, but it does start to drop when things get hard. And progression on long-term work projects. I am so consistent on that, but when things start to get hard, it starts to drop. And then third list, things that I am really only consistent on when things are going super well, or not even just super well, but like, I don't know, maybe it's just not as consistent. And I would say having the kids clean bathrooms. We probably have like 1 or 2 weeks a month where I get them to do that. And then the other time, not really. It's spotty. Kids practicing instruments is kind of spotty. Cleaning bedrooms, like having the kids clean their rooms, kind of spotty. Notebooking with the kids, kind of spotty. Schoolwork with them can be spotty. Now, we're doing loads of learning in the day. I'm still reading good books with them, and a lot of them are part of like school curriculums. They're still doing a math lesson, but like this full sit-down school day where we're doing things consistently together, that's spotty. Deep cleaning our house, that's spotty. Having people over for dinner, which we love and fills our bucket, that's spotty. Meeting up with friends, which we love, that's, again, spotty. So, what's really helpful about this is now you have these 3 lists and you have kind of a picture of your true priorities based on where you're allotting your time and energy right now. But so now I have some questions for you that I would love for you just to take some time and reflect on. So for example, what would you change? Is there anything glaringly on here where you're like, ooh, I would like to change that? One of the things for me that I noticed was I am so consistent at reading and watching inspiring things, which is great. I'm typically doing that because my energy is so low, but I'm also realizing that is a lot of time going to that thing. Is there something else here that I could swap out for that would be a more important priority to me? Just a question. What needs to be, and then, okay, next one, what needs to be automated, deleted, or delegated? So for example, I noticed that the things that I'm spotty on are actually things that I want my kids to be doing. I want my kids to be doing bathrooms. I want my kids to be practicing their instruments. I want the kids to be cleaning their bedrooms. I want the kids to be doing notebooking. I want the kids to, We'll start with those. And so I'm realizing that needs to be a system outside of myself that I haven't set up yet. So it works great when I'm here and I'm functioning great, but I want to create a system outside of myself to help the kids just have clear expectations about what they need to do. So what's happening, whether I'm there or not. So all of the pieces are in place. We just don't have that external driver for that. So that's just good information, right? Right now we're just mining for information to move forward on things. So another question is what needs more accountability? So for me, that the kids thing definitely needs more accountability. What would I swap? And to be honest here, as I'm looking at this list, I feel pretty good about it. Like the things that I'm doing, I'm grateful that I do those. And so part of this too is just an exercise to let go of the mom guilt, because you can start telling yourself all these stories like, oh, I'm so horrible at, let's say, having my kids be consistent with schooling, which isn't even totally true because I've got some key learning things happening here always. The outside time together, going on walks together. And we always have this reading the books together, cooking meals together. Those are things that we're reading our scriptures together. Those are relational things and also academic type things that are really important to me, that I really prioritize. And so I'm able to see actually I am really consistent on the things that matter to me. The things that drop, I'm realizing I'm pretty good at picking those back up. I've got systems for all of those things. So when life gets a little bit better, I'm better at picking those up and I can start doing them again. And then those things that I'm not consistent on, but I want to be, those are things that I can develop some better systems for. And now I can see, okay, this is a priority. This is something that I want to devote time, energy, resources to solving and getting better at this. So I hope that as you ask these questions to yourself, as you go through this exercise, that what you uncover is less mom guilt, because you can see what you're actually doing well on. It's so easy to see what you're not doing well, but I want you to focus on what you're doing well on. And then 2, evaluate, are there some easy swaps? Can you change those priorities around a bit? Can you allocate your time and energy a little bit differently and just make things a little bit better? And then 3, what systems can you create? What can you delegate to other people? What can you do to create more accountability that doesn't involve you as the mom so much, to make things that need to still happen in your home that you want to be consistent on happen? So I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you next week.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Thriving in Motherhood Journal. This is my go-to tool to completely change how you will experience motherhood. I created it during some really hard seasons in my life to change how I was thinking about my life and to bring more meaning, fulfillment, and joy into the everyday and including the really hard days. This is based in the latest research of positive psychology, high performance habits, cognitive behavioral therapy, gratitude research, as well as some scriptures from the Bible to bring in a spiritual element as well. And as you learn to ask these questions to yourself, it changes how you see your day. It changes what you focus on. And as you change your focus, you will find that you are feeling so much more joy. You can learn more today at thrivinginmotherhoodpodcast.com/journal.
Where you are planted, watch the blossoms grow.